Hello everyone, I'm Arya from Susan's family. Today, I'll be showing you how to make this pouch called Splendiferous from our Chinese aesthetics collection. It consists of the body, the strap, and the decorations. We'll crochet them separately first, then assemble them. Let's learn how to crochet the body. We will start with the foundation chain, then crochet in rounds counterclockwise. Color changes are required during the process. Before we start, let's learn how to read the table. RND plus number indicates the round number. The stitch instruction column shows the stitch techniques and any increase or decrease required for the current round. The total stitches column shows the number of stitches after completing the round. The stitch techniques we'll use include CH for chain stitch, V for SC 2-in-1, X for single crochet, W for SC 3-in-1, K for skipping stitches, SL for slip stitch, and F for double crochet. Now, let me show you the specific steps. Start from the foundation chain. You'll need to work with 2 strands of yarn. So pull out the 2 yarn tails. Then combine them into one for crocheting. For clearer watching, I will work with only 1 strand in a random color. For specific yarns, color schemes, and hook size, you can refer to the product details page or the pattern. The 32CH in the table indicates a foundation chain of 32 stitches. Let's start. Hold the yarn tail with your right hand. Wrap it around your left little finger. Thread it between your middle and index finger. Pinch the tail with your left thumb and middle finger. Hold the hook with your right hand. It will work between these 2 points. Place it under the yarn. Rotate your hook counterclockwise. Pinch the crossing point of the loop with your left thumb and middle finger. Next, position the hook to the left of the yarn. Yarn over counterclockwise. Draw through the loop. Pull tight. The slip knot does not count as a stitch. Adjust the loop on the hook. Begin chaining. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. A chain stitch is complete. Yarn over. Draw through. This is the second stitch. Look, a chain stitch creates a V shape. You can know the number of stitches by counting V, S. You need to work 32 stitches. Keep chaining. A, V, represents 1 stitch. The foundation chain is done. Now, let's work the first round. For round 1, it's start in second CH from the hook, 30X, W, 29X, V. So we'll work in the second to last stitch. Count from your hook. 1, 2. This is the second chain from the hook. The number before, X, indicates the number of single crochets needed. So we'll work 30 single crochets. Let's make the first one. Insert into the back loop of the second stitch from your hook. It's picking up the strand like this. Place the hook under the yarn. Draw the yarn through. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over. Draw through both loops. A single crochet is complete. The V at the top is the stitch of the single crochet. A, V, represents 1 stitch. Mark this single crochet. If don't have a stitch marker, you can use a safety pin or paperclip instead. Continue working single crochets. Insert into the next back loop. Draw the yarn through. There are 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over. Draw through both loops at once. Another single crochet is complete. Continue working a single crochet in each back loop until you have 1 chain left. Now there is only 1 stitch left. You have crocheted exactly 30 single crochets. The W indicates a SC3 in 1. This means working 3 single crochets in same stitch. 1, 2, 3. The SC3 in 1 is complete. Then rotate the piece. You can see, on this side, there are 2 loops like these left for each stitch. Pick up these 2 loops, which is going into the same insertion points for the stitches on this side, to work single crochets. Don't insert into the stitch for SC3 in 1. Place the starting yarn tail above the hook. Weave it in as you go. You can see that the single crochets on this side are symmetrical to the ones on the other side. 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. There is one stitch left. The V indicates a SC2 in 1. Make a SC2 in 1 in the first stitch. That is working 2 single crochets in the same stitch. The SC2 in 1 is done. You can check the stitch count to avoid any mistakes. Finally, slip stitch into the first single crochet, which is the marked stitch. Insert into the first single crochet, yarn over, draw through all the loops on the hook. The slip stitch is done. The slip stitch is not indicated in the table. When crocheting, you should finish each round with a slip stitch. This is the V for the slip stitch. It doesn't count as a stitch. Pull it tight. This completes the first round. Move on to the second round. For round 2, you'll work V29X VW twice. The stitches within the parentheses are worked as a group. The times plus number indicates the number of times to repeat the group. First, chain 1 as the turning chain for single crochets. It is not indicated in the table. But when crocheting, you'll need to work a turning chain at the beginning of each round. The turning chain for single crochet doesn't count as a stitch. I won't repeat it later. First, in the first stitch of the previous round, which is the insertion point of the slip stitch, work a SC2 in 1. Place a marker in the first stitch. Then work 29 single crochets, 1 in each stitch. Now, work a SC2 in 1. Then it's a SC3 in 1 in the next stitch. This completes a group within the parentheses. Repeat the group. A SC2 in 1. (29 single crochets). After that, a SC2 in 1. A SC3 in 1. Finally, slip stitch into the marked stitch. Pull tight. This completes the second round. Now, let's work the third round. Make a turning chain. For round 3, you'll work 3 4x, W, X twice. Work 34 single crochets first. Place a marker in the first one. After that, work at SC3 in 1. A single crochet. This completes one group within the parentheses. Then repeat the group. 34 single crochets. A SC3 in 1. A single crochet. Then slip stitch into the marked stitch. Pull tight. This completes the third round. You can see that the right side texture is clear, while the wrong side texture is blurry. On the right side, one raised texture indicates a round. Count the raised textures from the stitches worked in the foundation chain. There are now 3 rounds completed. For rounds 4 to 14, continue working in rounds with corresponding stitches. Working evenly means making a single crochet in each stitch of the previous round. After finishing round 14, don't slip stitch yet. Refer to the pattern to complete these rounds. Move on to round 15. We should switch the color first. Take out the corresponding yarn. The color for the sample is random. Make a slip knot with the yarn tail. Hang the yarn with your left hand. Insert the hook into the marked stitch. Crochet a slip stitch. Color change is complete. We won't use the previous yarn. Tighten it slightly. Leave about 5 centimeters of yarn tail. Cut it off. Work a turning chain first. Then, crochet evenly with single crochets. As you work, weave in the yarn tail. Refer to the pattern to complete rounds 15 to 21. Next, move on round 22. Work 3 turning chains. They count as 1 double crochet. On the 3rd stitch, insert into these 2 loops. Place a marker. Chain 1. Then crochet the stitches within parentheses. The K indicates skipping 1 stitch. So skip the next stitch. Work in the 3rd stitch. The 3F means 3 double crochets. Let's work the first one. Yarn over. Insert into the stitch. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over. Draw through the first 2 loops on the hook. Now 2 loops remain. Yarn over. Draw through all the loops on the hook. A double crochet is complete. Work the next one. Yarn over. Insert into the next stitch. Draw through. Yarn over again. Draw through the first 2 loops. And repeat. 1, 2. This double crochet is complete. Then crochet 1 more. After that, chain 1. This completes 1 group within the parentheses. Then repeat the group. Skip 1 stitch. Work 3 double crochets accordingly. After completing, chain 1. Referring to the pattern, complete the required number of groups. After the final chain stitch, skip 1 stitch. Work a double crochet in each of the remaining 2 stitches. Slip stitch into the marked loops. Tighten up. Round 22 is complete. Continue with round 23. Start with 3 turning chains. The turning chain counts as a double crochet. Place the stitch marker. Then chain 1. Skip 1 stitch. Work a double crochet. Chain 1. Skip 1. Work a double crochet. Chain 1. Following the pattern of 1 double crochet, 1 chain stitch, skipping 1 stitch, complete this round. Slip stitch into the marked loops. Pull tight. Round 23 is complete. Rounds 24 and 25 are crocheted in the same way as round 23. You'll be working a double crochet in the double crochet stitches and a chain at the chain positions. Refer to the chart to complete these rounds. After the last chain, secure the yarn tail. First, slip stitch into the marked loops. Note that the slip stitch does not need to be tightened. Stretch the loop. Leave about 10 centimeters of yarn tail and fasten off. Place the hook behind the piece. Skip the first chain stitch on the left. Insert into the double crochet from behind. Draw the yarn tail through. Then draw through the slip stitch. Adjust it. Fastening off like this, the slip stitch is invisible. Weave in the yarn tail on the wrong side. Once it's woven in, cut off the excess yarn. This completes round 25. Finally, move on to round 26. Take the corresponding yarn. Make a slip knot. The yarn for the sample is in a random color. Hang the yarn with your left hand. Between rounds 14 and 15. In any insertion point for a stitch in round 15. Insert your hook. Draw the yarn through. Then in each insertion point on the left, work a slip stitch. Don't make the slip stitches too tight or too loose. Crochet all the way around. After completing, leave a yarn tail of about 10 centimeters. Fasten off. Thread the yarn tail through the tapestry needle. Go under the first slip stitch. Then back to the last stitch, and pull it to the wrong side. Weave in the end along the texture of the wrong side. The starting yarn tail should also be woven in. Trim off any excess yarn tails while working. Round 26 is complete. And we've finished the body. Next, we will make the strap. It consists of heart knots, strap, and tassels. Crochet them separately first, then assemble them. Let me show you. Start from crocheting the heart knots. One is worked with a chain and a chain loop. Let's crochet the loop first. We'll use one strand of yarn. The color for the sample is random. It's worked by double chaining. Leave a yarn tail of about 20 centimeters. Hang the yarn with your left hand. The yarn tail should be underneath. First, make a slip knot. Then, wrap the yarn tail from front to back around the hook. Yarn over. Draw through the loops on the hook. The first stitch is complete. Again, wrap the yarn tail from front to back around the hook. Yarn over. Draw through the 2 loops on the hook. The second stitch is complete. Repeat wrapping the yarn and drawing through. A total of 14 stitches are needed. After completing, slip stitch in the first stitch. Stretch the loop. Leave a tail the same length as the other end. The chain loop has finished. Set it aside. Then work the chain. First, leave a tail of about 1 meter. Wrap the yarn and crochet chain stitches. Just like what we just did. Refer to the chart. Complete the chain stitches. Don't slip stitch after completing. Stretch the loop. Leave a tail the same length as the other end. Fasten off. The chain is done. Next, make the heart knot. Fold the chain in half. Then take out the chain loop 1. From the bottom up. Thread the chain through the loop. Then pass the 2 ends of the chain upwards through the loop. When done, push the folded position from the top down. You can see there are now 2 strands on top. Adjust the shape of them. To form 2 loops like these, the loops can be slightly smaller. Then pass the 2 ends through the loops separately. This completes a heart knot. Adjust it to the proper shape. You can apply glue at the cross points to secure it. In small amounts multiple times. This prevents glue marks on the surface. Set it aside to dry. Following the same method, complete the other heart knot. Next, let's crochet the strap. We'll crochet with flat beads. There are 2 shapes. Use the actual beads you receive. Pay attention to the direction of the heart-shaped flat beads. After threading, the pointed end should face downward. I'll demonstrate the crocheting method. The beads are random. Let me show you. It consists of 2 strands of chain. Start by crocheting the first one. Take out the corresponding yarn with the beading needle. Thread 2 flat beads. Leave a tail of about 40 centimeters. Referring to the pattern, work the corresponding number of chains. After completing, stretch the loop. Pass the completed chain and the yarn tail through the loop together. Tighten the loop. Slip a bead. Then make a slip knot above it. To make it look nice, the knot should be tight and as closer to the bead as possible. Continue crocheting the corresponding number of chains. After completing, stretch the loop. Pass the completed chain and the tail through the loop together. Pull it tight. Slip the other bead. Make a slip knot above it. Continue crocheting the corresponding number of chains. After completing, leave a tail of about 40 centimeters. Cut the yarn. This completes the first strand. Set it aside. Next, crochet the second one. Take the yarn. Leave a tail of about 40 centimeters. Work the corresponding number of chains. After completing, take out the first strand. At any end of it, in the stitch just before the bead, work a slip stitch. Then, chain 5. Slip stitch into the stitch just after the bead. After completing, continue crocheting the corresponding number of chains. Then, slip stitch into the stitch just after the bead at the other end. Note: make sure the two strands are not twisted. Work a slip stitch. Chain 5. Slip stitch into the stitch just before the bead. Finally, crochet the corresponding number of chains. After completing, leave a yarn tail of about 40 centimeters. Cut the yarn. The second strand is done. Next, attach the strap. Take out the body. Squash it along the foundation chain symmetrically. Make the side with the slip stitches the back. The other side will be the front, with the front facing you. On round 22, place markers on the double crochets on both sides. Take out the strap. There are 2 strands at each end. Thread one from either end through the tapestry needle. Insert the needle into the right side of round 22. From the left of the marker, insert between the double crochets. Then insert into the adjacent chain space. Come out from the next space. Finally, come out from the space. At the right side of the marker on the left. Next, thread the other strand on this end through the needle. On the back of round 22, weave in and out. Finally, at this side, tie the 2 strands in a knot to secure. Next, pick up the hook. And work 10 double chains. Finally, with the beading needle, string a bicony bead. This completes one end of the strap. The other end is done similarly. Weave each strand from where they came out, in and out following the previous path. Note: keep the flat beads on top on both sides. Finally, tie the two strands in a knot to secure. Then, make 10 double chains. Thread a bicony bead. This completes attaching the strap. Set it aside. Next, make the tassels. Cut a piece of yarn about 80 centimeters long. I have already prepared this. Separate two strands from it. Thread through a tassel. Fold the yarn in half. Place the tassel in the middle. Combine the two tails. With the beading needle. String a glass bead. And a golden bead. Then, work 8 double chains. One tassel is now complete. Following the same method to make the remaining ones. Next, assemble everything. First, assemble one side of the strap. With this end of a heart knot. Thread the tails of the strap through the needle separately. Secure them with the tails of the knot. There is no specific method required, just make sure it is secure. Then, leaving tails of about 0.5 centimeters long, cut off. Apply some glue to secure them. For the 2 yarn tails of the knot, trim one to about 0.5 centimeters. Glue it securely. Wrap the other one a few times. To cover the glued area, trim off the excess yarn. Secure the tail with glue. This completes the assembly of the strap with one end of the knot. Now, assemble a tassel with the other end of the knot. The method is similar to this end. Secure it firmly. This completes the assembly of the tassel with the heart knot. Repeat what we just did. To assemble the other side. Finally, let's make the decorations. There are seed beads, flowers, leaves, calyxes, and an embroidery patch. For where to attach, you can refer to the finished product, or you can adjust according to your preference. Let me show you. Take out the corresponding yarn. Cut a long piece of yarn. Pull out one strand. Thread it through the beading needle. At the desired position on the front of the pouch. Pick up the surface and weave in the end. Make sure not to go inside. At where it came out, pick up some strands to secure the end. Then thread it through the calyx from the bottom. String a seed bead. Then thread it back through the calyx. Continue picking up to carry the yarn across. Come out at the appropriate position. Attach a leaf. Continue picking up to carry the yarn. Thread through a flower from the bottom. String a seed bead. Then thread it back through the flower. The decorations in the upper left have been attached. Continue carrying the yarn to an appropriate position. Repeat what we just did. Refer to the finished product or according to your preference, attach the remaining beads. Complete this step on your own. After attaching them, pick up the surface and weave in the end. Trim off any excess yarn. Finally, take the patch. Apply glue to the wrong side of it. Attach it to the pouch. You can apply the glue in small amounts multiple times. This avoids the glue marks. Now, I've shown you about the decorations. And the pouch is done. If you have any questions during the process, don't hesitate to reach us via our website, Susan's Family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.